Faza'il A'mal, More Trouble Than It's Worth, Part 19. Statistical Analysis, Part 2 of 2.
This is the issue, right? So now let's deal with the issue of Wahdatul Wujud. So I've shown you that Dar al-Ulum Deoband, whether you're looking at Tablighi Jama, whether you're looking at its pioneers or founding fathers like Shawliullah Muhaddis Delhi, who fought against the British. You have then, before that, Sheikh Ahmed Sarhandi, who fought against the King Akbar, so to say, or rebelled against him. Then you have Sheikh Mahmud al-Hassan, rahmatullah alayhi, who fought against the British and was caught and put in prison. These are people that, these are not just, couch potato intellectuals, okay, like you find in this podcast, couch potato intellectuals who are just spreading nonsense. And their level of knowledge is nothing, as will be shown to you very soon, inshallah, today, when I talk about one of the major issues that I think is very misunderstood and needs to be clarified and made right. Okay, and that is the issue of Wahdatul Wujud, the oneness of existence.
Again, we have Sheikh Omar Baloch being reluctant to mention the doyen of the Deobandis and the TJ, Ashraf Ali Tanvi. Why does he refuse to mention this individual? It's several occasions now that he has the opportunity to mention him, but he doesn't. Perhaps because the literature of this man is so widespread, and in so many cases it's problematic and outdated and pre-industrial, and it doesn't sit well with the Western, modern conscience, that he is so reluctant to mention this individual. In any case, he also conflates another concept that we will discuss, which is the issue of Wahdatul Wujud, and he does translate it correctly. He calls it the oneness of existence. That basically means the only thing that exists is Allah, which in other terms is pantheism. And in the next couple of episodes I'll show you the hadith that he uses and Dr. Israr Ahmed uses in order to bolster their opinion. In any case, we're going to move on to the second and final statistical part, where we have this pie chart, which is on page 282, and it describes the hadiths and it represents them in a visual form when both parts are displayed together, Faza'il of Quran and Faza'il of Namaz. Now, the question you should ask yourself is, why did he choose these two books? The reason is because certain other topics, or topics like, for example, zakah, which is a tithe that is paid, or topics like Ramadan, or topics like Hajj, these are things that are specific times and specific places, so they're linked by geography and they're linked to time. But things like namaz, which is prayer, is something that's done daily, it's quotidian. And the Quran, again, it's a daily thing, so it's quotidian. So he's chosen the most popular topics in order to analyze, and that's why he represents them in this way. He says about them, the overall percentage of each of them, we will find that many of the weak, very weak and fabricated hadiths are high or still high at 41%. On the other hand, we find that the group consisting of authentic ahadith and ahadith that are sound due to support by other narrations is 53%. So by no means is this like a book that should be promoted. It's basically half made up, half weak. When you have other books like Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim that have all the hadiths within it that are authentic. Then we have this diagram, which is where we get the 53% number from, and the diagram states that it is figure 5.3, the grades and percentages of the hadith in groups. And here it clearly shows when they're all put together in groups that the 56% is da'if, ضعيف جدا and موضوع لا أصل له baseless or مجهول totally unknown. 56% of the FA is weak, very weak, baseless, unknown. That's the evidence, that's the proof, and that's the reason he did an analysis of those books. Now we come to another thesis after we say enough with the TJ and enough with the FA. This was a doctoral thesis that was submitted to the University of Glasgow, and it was in the year 1991. It's called The Origins of Hadith, a critical appraisal of a Western approach to the subject. And it was completed by a researcher called Sulaiman Mohammed Al-Jarullah, and it was, as I said, in 1991 to the Faculty of Arts. Now, this, as I have done previously, is no more than a simple introduction to this work. He goes through, in 411 pages of research, he goes through the arguments of an Orientalist called Younis in great detail. And this again is another post-Shatian that was heavily influenced by those individuals. And he basically summarizes his arguments in 5 areas. The first is the awa'il evidence. Awa'il is plural of awwal, or the first reports, early reports. And this is also linked to the qusas, the people who are storytellers. So that's the first sort of genre of literature that Younis looks at. Then he looks at the chronology of the growth of traditions. Number 3 is the origin of the concept of prophetic sunnah. Then 4, the earliest development of the hadith centers. And 5, a tentative look at the chronology of seeking knowledge, or talab al-ilm. And the conclusion, this is just one page from the conclusion, but like I said, he spent over 400 pages deconstructing Younis' arguments. He says, apart from the dubious significance of the arguments and the evidence that Younis adduces to support his thesis of the late coming into the existence of hadith, there are other considerations which undermine Younis' approach to the subject. He treats the sources and references in an eclectic and selective manner. Almost every argument that he adduces to support his hypothesis is based on selective information. And this is something that you should rapidly be realizing is a common feature of Orientalist study of hadith. They have no respect whatsoever for the Muslim tradition, and they themselves are cherry pickers, and they use selective arguments, and at times they ignore research done by the same materialist institution that they come from themselves. Stay tuned for many more parts.